right, welcome into Paradise. Surviving Paradise, a podcast that takes a sometimes serious, oftentimes humorous look at the claim by the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses that they're serving up spiritual food on the regular. I'm your host, Stacy Bauman. I am a former elder, ministerial servant, and a kid raised as a Jehovah's Witness. This episode will feature its usual amount of sarcasm, humor, never meant to offend. Welcome back. Happy New Year, our first episode of 2025. Couldn't be more excited. It's great to be back after a few weeks away, and it was much needed. I hope that everyone had a fantastic holiday season, or at least enjoyed some much needed rest and relaxation. I, for one, needed a few days away. The time had come. I was reaching critical mass, burnout on these guys. It felt good to be away from the steady stream of Holy Spirit coming out of upstate New York. Did I miss anything? Was there any new light? I often wonder if anyone who takes the time to listen gets completely drained from even considering Jehovah's Witnesses. I confessed over the last couple of episodes that I do, and I was reaching that point. And as I alluded to a couple of weeks ago, I just found myself getting burnt out on the absurdity of the last year. I guess we could say last 2 years. I always know that I'm personally reaching that point when I want to turn on this microphone and just scream, "Wake the hell up, they're cult leaders." And with each passing day, you get the sense that some are waking up to the insanity, and that couldn't make me happier. However, at this point in 2025, I'm looking for your opinion. I realize I might be biased and seeing what I want to see. I started a book during vacation, and I'm really enjoying it. It's called The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. Have not finished it. I'm far from finished, mostly because I continue to read a chapter, then reread it. I'm absolutely fascinated by this book. Has anyone read this book? I would love to hear your thoughts. It examines examples of cognitive biases, simple errors we all make in our day-to-day thinking. And needless to say, a few light bulbs came on in my head, and I find myself reading and rereading. And of course, I also found myself applying it to my own experience as a Jehovah's Witness. That includes my thinking post-future paradise hopeful life. Why do I see what I see? Am I projecting? Am I seeing this through my own lens? I got to tell you, it's very interesting stuff, maybe just to me, but it certainly applies to my life inside Jehovah's Witnesses, as well as my life outside, looking back, and even what I tend to share on this little podcast show. So note that in 2025, I may be injecting my own thoughts and applications based on what I am learning in the moment. I have entire episodes on how the governing body wants to control our very thoughts. The Jehovah's Witnesses are taught Jehovah is inside their heads. He's inside your hearts. How does that impact us? I'll tell you, it's a question I continue to ask myself, even 16 years. This will be my 16th year since I left the spiritual paradise. I look forward to everybody else's opinion, so please keep them coming. But I've been remiss. Again, Happy New Year. 2025 marks year 111 of the last days that never end. Is this the year? Did you find yourself on New Year's Eve asking yourself that? Will Jesus decide to go with the perfect year 111, 111, and finally throw his little brother Satan in jail and usher all those Bible scholars currently manning book carts at your local park with at least 1,000 years of growing young, learning Hebrew, and finally meeting their favorite Bible character in person in a paradise? Is this the year? We don't know. But I returned this last week to find that the governing body is already giving us breadcrumbs as to what the future looks like inside Jehovah's Witnesses. You see, if you're really paying attention, you can actually see and hear what the 11 guys in upstate New York think about the immediate future for God's chosen people. So naturally, after taking a break, I wandered onto the only website powered by Holy Spirit and overseen by its webmaster, Jesus, to see what the governing body was saying the past few weeks. And I have to tell you, I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't disappointed at all. During my vacation, Jehovah's Witnesses were treated to Governing Body Update number 8, hosted by future King Priest Kenneth Cook Jr. What a personality he is. This guy's been in the background for the most part. He's a background governing body member, but here he is. If you would like to watch it in its entirety, you can find it on the website under the Videos tab. Go watch it. I always encourage that. Don't take this apostate's word for anything if you're someone on the fence. News from heaven moves fast, and I noticed this morning it's no longer being featured. However, side note, it was replaced on the front page of the website by another hard-hitting plate of spiritual food. The article, "How Can I Lose Weight?" featuring what looks like a teenage boy? What? Staring into a mirror at his stomach, which I might add is looking pretty lean. I don't know. And I want to apologize here. I haven't yet read that information, and I tend to get distracted, ADHD, but it did bump King Kenneth Cook of the Governing Body Update number 8 off the front page. I do, however, appreciate that Jesus, as we're told he leads this organization, and his father are very concerned with our calorie intake and our abs. And might I add, it makes what follows in the Governing Body Update all that more appalling. Stay with me, I'll explain. We're going to spend a little over 15 minutes in the presence of greatness. One of the only men on earth Jesus Christ of the Gospels handpicked to tell the rest of us how to live our lives now and how to live forever. If you're new to Jehovah's Witnesses, please note no one, including himself, Kenneth Cook Jr., can explain how or why he was chosen to be a king priest. The answer is always the same. Just trust me, bro. That's the answer. So just trust him. He's a king priest. Brother Cook doesn't go into how to lose weight. Again, you can read that on the front page. Brother Cook starts his presentation with an update on the country of Eritrea in Eastern Africa. You might remember during their last update they shared, with a sense of pride, that an 85-year-old sister was currently sitting in a prison cell in Eritrea. What were they doing to get this elderly woman out? Well, you might remember they said they were praying for her. Very practical, because that's what multi-billion-dollar real estate organizations with its own legal department do for elderly people sitting in jail cells for their loyalty to the 11 men in upstate New York. They prayed for her. But if that wasn't bad enough, they want us to know that Jehovah and Jesus are looking on with pride at the other 23 people who are also in prison. King Cook in this update then says, quote, "We are very pleased to inform you that on December 7th, 2024, Sister Sovereign Gabu, who was 8 months pregnant at the time, was released from prison." End quote. For a moment, you should see the smile on his face when he says this. Please go watch it. Quote continues, "We rejoice over this positive development," end quote. A sister of 85 years of age, no update, still in prison, a pregnant woman is released, and the best we get from these guys is that this is, wow, a positive development. And 2025 is off to a strong start with the guys Jesus handpicked, known as the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. He continues, quote, "However, her husband remains in prison for his faith. Sadly, Eritrean authorities have imprisoned 5 more of our brothers and sisters," end quote. He then goes on to relate something he seems very proud of. You have to see him, his facial expressions and his gestures. The Eritrean authorities arrested 4 more people, as he relates. All of them are teenagers, ages 16 through 18, 2 young boys and 2 young girls. He tells all that all 4 were immediately interrogated and taken to prison. The sense of pride and borderline joy is palpable on this video. Teenage kids going to prison for Kenneth Cook. Make no mistake, that is what it is. It has always been this way in this organization. When I was a kid, it was Russia, it was Malawi. We, of course, reviewed the Holocaust over and over. It was Burundi in the 90s. On and on it goes. Teenage kids standing up for a publishing real estate empire in the United States going to prison. Please note something here. The governing body then does something that will become very interesting and very ironic in a few minutes. But please note it here. They then show us all 4 of these kids' photographs and give us their names. They're young. They then give us another sister's name and photo. They appear to really want to put names to faces to make clear who is undergoing this horrible treatment, and they want all Jehovah's Witnesses watching to see their faces and know their names. King Priest Kenneth Cook then punches us all in the gut by telling us that now there are 68 Jehovah's Witnesses sitting in prison cells for their real estate publishing company in the United States of America. When he says this, you have to go watch and see his gestures. I'm guessing he got a really good grade in the Theocratic school back in the day. But this is so appalling and one of the top moments in this update for me personally. As he's relating this tragedy, Kenneth Cook does what only a subconscious cult leader can do. He does a fist pump at waist level when he says, quote, "They're imprisoned for their faith." Fist pump. What? I had to rewind this. Did he really just do that? That is a neato video transition, and I immediately felt like I had never had a vacation from these guys at this point. The emotions raced back. Gone were 2 weeks of not having to think about them. What are they doing? What are they doing to help these people? Just a good fist pump from Kenneth Cook. Well, if you're wondering, look, tell me what they're doing to help these kids, 16, 18, 68 other people. What are they doing? Well, wait for it. Brother Cook wants Jehovah's Witnesses to know that they continue to pray for them. Yeah, they said a prayer. He will mention them during his dinner prayer at the upstate New York resort compound, or maybe he will pray for them when he takes a walk around the lake out back. And if you were like me, you were actually hoping at this point for an update on the 85-year-old sister sitting in prison. How about her, Kenneth? It's been a month or so. Is she okay? Have you gotten her out? Forget it. He gives us nothing. She is apparently still there, approaching her 86th birthday in a prison cell as he sits in a resort compound in New York. But at least now she has some teenagers to hang out with. They're in prison too. For those who have spent countless hours wondering if the governing body is just dumb or actually evil, here it is. Here it is. I strongly encourage anyone contemplating whether these men know what they're doing to look no further than this right here. They live on an all-expenses-paid resort property in upstate New York, eating farm-fresh food and controlling millions of people, while these 68 people in Eritrea rot in prison cells. I'm serious. Think about this. You may even be wondering why they aren't trying to get them out. I propose this based on a great book I'm reading I mentioned at the outset. Consider the power it gives to their doctrines and teachings to have real faces, from old people to men and women, pregnant women, and even teenagers, to name as martyrs to show the rest of their followers around the world. Much like we have celebrity endorsements and Instagram influencers, nothing gives their lies more power than showing you actual precious people like you and me suffering for them. In other words, these truly are the last days. Wow, those guys in New York are so right. Our fellow brothers and sisters are being persecuted. Anyone who's been a Jehovah's Witness knows their love for persecution and pointing to it as a proof point as to them being Jesus' choice. These precious people have become poster children for the governing body, someone to point at, much like they did of those in the Holocaust or Malawi or Russia or Burundi. See there? There they are. We're being persecuted. And I want everyone to remember when they contemplate what these men are doing, remember that these men, now 11, sleep just fine at night. They're sleeping like babies, knowing these 68 people in East Africa, and there are many more, are just trying to sleep in a prison cell at the same time. Does the governing body know what they're doing? I'm going to let you be the judge. As I mentioned, I'm loving this book on cognitive bias. But when you look at their actions, do they know what they're doing? If this wasn't upsetting enough, the video transition almost cost me my computer monitor. In a transition of subject that we are to believe was approved by the same guy that gave us the Good Samaritan parable, Jesus, King Kenneth Cook goes from straight face telling about all this prison stuff to smiling, jolly Kenneth Cook. You should see the transition in his face on this video. He goes from Satan to Santa Claus within moments. After sharing this horrific news about these poor people, he then says this, quote, as reported on jw.org on November 6, 2024, the town of Ramapo Planning Board gave approval to the Ramapo site plan. This means that construction can begin. We are grateful to the town board for this approval. But above all, we thank Jehovah. End quote. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold tight. Hard stop. Wait a minute. I'm playing catch up here, King Cook. I'm watching your update. And I have, I'm going to at least say a few brain cells that have broken free of your grasp in 16 years. And am I following this update correctly? That's a question. because I'm keeping track at home. We are to believe as a Jehovah's Witness that Jehovah is watching on as an elderly woman, a pregnant woman, and teenage kids are rotting in prison cells. He is taking in any and all prayers on their behalf. He's hearing your prayers. But, well, the fact is, they're still in prison cells. But within seconds of telling us this, here you are, telling Jehovah's Witnesses that the same God, that guy Jehovah, heard your prayers and acted immediately to help you and your 10 friends build a movie studio in Ramapo, New York. Are you serious? The same God. I want to be clear here, because while men, women, and children are rotting in prisons, instead, he wants just all of us to know that being Jehovah, apparently he's not good at multitasking, I might add, turned his attention not to those poor souls, but he turned his attention to getting your construction team approved to build the following movie production studio in Ramapo, New York. You can't make this stuff up. And for those that question whether the governing body knows what they're doing, here it is. Go watch it on the website. No apostate book, no apostate podcast, no apostate YouTube needed. Watch it for yourself. Within seconds, Jehovah leaves them rotting in prison. Jehovah builds you a movie studio. And it's documented in print and local media that this is a 249-acre wooded property. It's gorgeous. Go look. That will include 6 state-of-the-art audio-visual studios on site. They are a movie studio company now. The world headquarters, incidentally, is 1.5 million square feet, and this new property that he's telling us Jehovah, that he thanked Jehovah for, will dwarf world headquarters because it is 1.7 million square feet. It's bigger. It will be complete with geothermal wells for energy, a full solar field, and their own microgrid on site. That's probably good for when they're building the bunkers, right? Brother Cook goes on with a montage of videos showing the construction, men and women waving, otherwise known as free labor, and tries to impress us all with the amount of rock blasting they're doing, and how it will take Jehovah lots of rock blasting to build his movie studio. Anyone else have a few questions? I want to be sure, if I'm a Jehovah's Witness, that I'm really understanding this spiritual food. I feel a little dizzy. I feel like I'm kind of in the teacups at Disneyland. It starts out with pregnant women being released. We forgot about the old woman. We got teenagers in prisons. Never mind, Jehovah heard that prayer, but he answered this one. He wants to build a movie studio. Did I summarize that correctly? First, a comment. I'm not sure going from an elderly woman, a pregnant woman, and teenagers rotting in prison right into your multi-million-dollar movie studio project says a whole lot about Jehovah. It doesn't say much about Jehovah. Do you want to rethink this, Kenneth, and make this a different video? You want to share something different? No? Well, okay then. I was just hoping that the same God who has the hairs numbered on our heads and sent his one and only Son to die for us would actually answer the prayers you're delivering for the people rotting in prison cells. But the Creator, according to you, is apparently busy building a movie studio where he can then produce videos showing us these same people rotting in prison cells, like you just did. It's the biggest circle jerk mind F you'll ever see. Makes perfect sense, Kenneth Cook. And wow, can I feel the love. At this point, as I'm watching this, folks, I wondered, would Brother Cook field a few of my questions for the rest of us lowly paradise hopefuls that he will soon judge from heaven? Here's a few of my questions so far from Governing Body Update number 8. With the end coming any second, why are Jehovah's Witnesses building a multi-million-dollar movie production studio? Why? Will this survive Armageddon and produce cool movies in paradise? Is that the idea? Will we be treated to a recreation of the flood story? Only this time, my guy Noah will be acting in his own movie? Is that why we're building these? And by the way, while we're asking these things, who's going to be manufacturing computers, cameras, microphones, amplifiers, and more in paradise? Who's going to be building these things for the production studio that you're building now? How about this? I'm rereading 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. I got it right here. I don't know. Again, it's so clear. It says all you need is this book, the Bible, that this book makes me fully equipped, completely competent. And well, I've read it, reread it 4 or 5 times now, and I don't see the Apostle Paul mentioning a movie production studio. It's not in the verse. So Kenneth Cook, is this new light? Is this new light? Don't worry. We know you won't have to apologize to us if you get it wrong. We heard you say it. Jehovah's Witnesses that are bravely here, please ask these questions. I got a few more. I'm glad Jehovah took time out of his busy schedule to get your movie studio approved by the town board in Ramapo. But can you ask him if he could throw us a bone and maybe wipe out a disease or two? I don't know. I'll let him pick. Maybe just 1 or 2. Instead of the movie studio, can you wipe out a disease in these last days? Even 1 would be helpful. Maybe he could even then make a movie about how he wiped out 1 disease in the last days. If that's too much to ask, I don't know. She's really on my mind. Could he just get the 85-year-old elderly woman out of prison in Eritrea, please? Instead of the movie studio, can you do something? How does this prayer thing work with Jehovah's priorities, according to these men? 68 people are in prison in Eritrea alone. Could you maybe delay one of your 6 movie studios just approved in Ramapo and spend a few minutes getting them all out? If not, will those people at least be able to watch your neat movies that you're making while they sit in their prison cells? Where can they stream it? Will you be sending it to them? If you're a Jehovah's Witness, folks, please let your critical thinking fire. It's all right there on video, folks. Jehovah, the same God that heard that guy Joshua praying and he made the sun stand still for him, is now busy manipulating town planning boards to approve building him a movie studio so he can make a movie about Joshua praying to him to make the sun stand still. A movie studio, we are told, must be built to save people's lives, even as the very people that watch their neat movies will then be sent to prison for watching and encouraging others to watch these movies they need to make to save lives. Does it make sense? It's otherwise known as some weird pyramid or Ponzi scheme. Round and round we go. But we must have a movie production studio. In fact, we need 6 of them. Those are just a few questions right off the top of my head. I'm going to leave it up to you, dear listener. Thank you for being here. It's unnerving. I'm going to move on to the important stuff from Brother Kenneth Cook and his 10 best friends. If you weren't already appalled by this update, I want to encourage you to buckle up. The governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, we are told, is the wisest group of men on planet Earth. And they're the gift that just keeps on giving. But before I spend the remainder of this podcast discussing the bulk of this update, it's important at this point for me to issue a reminder. Before I tell you anything about what Kenneth says next, I want to set the stage for the counsel that you're about to receive. So here it is. Just a reminder. The sole existence of Jehovah's Witnesses in 2025 in these last days is based on this. Mankind is on the clock. Death and mayhem, otherwise known as Armageddon, may strike any second. The organization is under fire in several nations for their shunning policy, including losing recognition as an official religion in places like Norway, not to mention the money that they get from said governments. Precious kids, baby kids, are being assaulted in their congregations and have drawn the ire of the legal community in several countries. Looking at you, Australia, and many more. You remember Satan the devil. Remember that guy? Jehovah's other son continues to run wild in the streets, otherwise known as planet Earth. He's starting wars. He's starting violence, crime, poverty, accidents, disease, drugs, and OnlyFans. Yeah. This is the state of the world for what Kenneth Cook wants to comment on next. But looking back, just so you remember what they've said all along about where we are in the stream of time, consider this. From the This Means Everlasting Life book from 1950, page 248, we're told, quote, not only is the life of all children endangered by the nearness of Armageddon, but their eternal destiny is involved, end quote. Ugh, I hate when people talk about kids in danger. The Watchtower of 1980, October 15th, page 16 says, quote, for a certainty, all the conditions foretold in Bible prophecy are here. We are indeed very deep into the last days of this system of things and nearing the final part, the Great Tribulation with its Armageddon finish, end quote. Watchtower of 1980, 44 years ago. Watchtower in 1967, April 15th, pages 243 and 244, quote, the danger of sudden death is staring you in the face. That is exactly the case with the warning that we speak of here. And there are reasons why it can truly be said to be the most urgent warning ever given. It is to come within the generation that has already seen 2 world wars, and it is only a few short years ahead of us, end quote. Jesus decided things overlap. Moving along, Kingdom Ministry of 2000, February 1st, quote, today, there is greater urgency than ever before to move ahead with the preaching work. In many parts of the world, the fields are ripe for harvesting. Even in lands where a thorough witness has seemingly been given, thousands are being baptized each year. With the end of this system of things rapidly approaching, there is plenty to do in the work of the Lord. End quote. With all of that said, 4 or 5 references. Would you like to know what the governing body is deeply concerned about in Governing Body Update number 8? We are on the precipice of genocide, disaster. Danger is staring us in the face. It's never been more urgent. Blood and guts and stuff. They must be stressed out of their minds trying to keep all of Jesus' precious sheep safe and on course for a life of speaking Hebrew and eating kiwi forever and ever in a pair of khakis. For the remaining 8 minutes of this update, folks, allow Kenneth Cook and his 10 best friends to tell us in their own words what pressing, terrifying danger they want each Jehovah's Witness to consider as they enter year 111 of the last days that never end. Are you ready? King Priest Cook starts by saying the following, quote, "While many assignments are in the background, some are more visible to others. For example, various brothers and sisters who appear in photos in our publications or who are used in our videos. In recent years, our organization," end quote for a moment, that jumped out. I wanted to say, wait, isn't it Jesus' organization? I got to tell you, I remember Moses doing this once when hitting a rock trying to get water. It didn't end so well, never mind. Back to the quote, "In recent years, our organization has produced hundreds of videos, including full-length dramas. At our convention this year, no doubt you appreciated viewing the first episode of The Good News According to Jesus. We look forward to all 18 episodes." End quote. Wow. We got 4 books in the Bible about Jesus, but they're going to treat us to 18 movies about him now. Jesus greenlit this from heaven. That's what we are to believe. The 4 books weren't enough. Jesus said, let's get this on film. I can feel the excitement. I wonder if, I don't know, he'll mention a real estate company in the yet undiscovered United States of America this time around. Will that be in the movie? You must obey those guys in the United States. Teacher, what is the United States? No, probably not. But I'm on the edge of my seat. Again, quick clarification. This is the same guy that just said our organization has produced hundreds of videos. He forgets there, Moses did too, he forgot to mention Jehovah was the executive producer. But carry on, Kenneth, carry on. But where is the kingly one going with this? He continues by thanking all those that make their videos come to life, and that many of these part-time actors and part-time lifesavers are from all around the world. He mentions that many have been interviewed or shared their experience on video, and yet others have portrayed a Bible character or a modern-day character. Little side point here. I got to tell you, this triggered me. I hated it when they went away from the Bible dramas to the modern-day dramas at the conventions. It sucked. It sucked. It's like the only thing kids look forward to at conventions. No more costumes, game over. They're all modern day now. Total side point. I'll shut up now. But he continues by saying, we may even know some of these people personally. And I have to tell you, my butt puckered. I braced for whatever was coming next. He goes on to say this, quote, "But here is an important question. How should we view those that appear in our videos?" End quote. I have to confess I haven't put a lot of thought to this, Kenneth. I'm still waiting for an update on that poor old sister rotting in prison. But I'm guessing he's going to tell us, I don't know, how we should feel about the people in the videos. Lucky guess. He continues, quote, "Those that appear in our theocratic videos are dedicated, humble servants of Jehovah." End quote. Just for clarity, that is the same Jehovah that's building a movie production facility with 6 video studios in upstate New York. Same God. At this point, it looks like we have a new definition for humility. Stay tuned for new light. But King Cook says this, quote, "They don't seek fame or glory for themselves. Quite the opposite. They want the glory to go to Jehovah." End quote. Okay, this is real. First, for anyone that has survived the spiritual paradise that is Jehovah's Witnesses, you know that the culture itself promotes seeking their version of fame and glory. Make no mistake of this. The human need to better ourselves, to be educated, to be progressing, and doing something constructive with our lives is leveraged every week inside Jehovah's Witnesses by these 11 cult leaders into seeking a place, a position among the elite of Jehovah's Witnesses. Again, make no mistake, this is real. For decades, Jehovah's Witnesses clamored to know more about this elite 144,000. Who are they? The entire culture is built like a pyramid scheme designed to get baptized people climbing their ladder to more what they call privileges. I could give many examples of this, but how about just one in the interest of time? From the Watchtower of September 1st, 1997, page 16, paragraph 14, Jehovah's Witnesses were told this, quote, Christian elders represent the glorious Jehovah God and his Son, and, as a result, have certain glory conferred upon them. End quote. Do they now? Where are my former elders? That's right. Kenneth seems to forget that what they've been teaching their people about those in the limelight, that they have certain glory. He seems to have forgotten about this in the update. Kenneth, care to comment? This is just the elders. And we don't have time to discuss the elders. I have many podcast episodes on those guys. I've had plenty to say about the elder arrangement and what it does to men, as well as how sisters are even encouraged to chase those eligible elders. And as a former elder myself, I can assure you, I still put my pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. That includes the sisters now. And I sure miss all that glory. That glory. You see, when I was a younger man, we didn't have the opportunity to audition for Jehovah's Witness movies or videos. As a kid, though, I watched the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, and I thought it was pretty cool. Got to admit, I can't imagine the bloodbath that would have been auditioning for J-dub movies and the resulting glory. I probably could have met a few more sisters back in the day. I don't know. Hey, I don't know if you saw me. I'm in the video. For 11 men that hold our lives in their hands, they seem to be completely clueless about both human nature and the culture they've built. All those Jehovah's Witnesses that have given up on their dreams, including for some theater dreams, will of course be jumping at the opportunity to be in a movie or video. With all of this ignorance on full display, and the unbelievable fact that this is even a thing, how are we having this conversation? This is a serious concern? Are you serious? Kenneth Cook then says, quote, thankfully, the majority of our brothers have maintained the proper perspective, end quote. Oh no. They have they? Then why are you giving this talk? For the minority? For the weirdo who's putting posters on their walls of Jade and Nita? What? But I couldn't help but think, uh-oh, here it comes. Folks, we're going to get the worldwide version of a local needs talk. Remember those? Something's amiss. And for the life of me, what exactly is the other perspective? Well, anyone that has been a Jehovah's Witness, particularly those that obtained a special title, for example, elder, pioneer, circuit overseer, presiding overseer, publisher, unbaptized publisher, I could keep going, or any other title, may have an inkling as to what might be going on and what's behind this. but I can't wait to hear Kenneth's perspective. He continues, quote, "Nevertheless, there is a caution for us as viewers. We must avoid transferring our admiration for the biblical characters to the brothers and sisters that portray them on screen." End quote. Wait, what? Is he kidding? Aside from the sheer comedy that this is such a concern with the end imminent and stuff, that it's making it into a governing body update, does Brother Cook understand the stupidity and irony of what he just said? Let me assure you that the answer is no. He does not. Where do I begin? How about here? First, the very guy that is building a multi-million-dollar movie studio he just told us about seconds ago to produce movies glorifying Bible characters, alleged people that just like you and me from the past, they're supposedly just like us folks, we're all going to the same paradise, whose only hope for the future is to spend their days riding elephants and eating chef salads for all of eternity with you and me, is now insinuating that Jehovah's Witnesses should reserve that admiration for the real Noah, the real David, the real Abraham, the real Sarah, which is just like admiring the very regular people playing dress up and pretending to be them in Kenneth's movies. Does he realize any of this? Kenneth, sit with it for a minute. Does he realize this? Last I checked, we shouldn't admire those people either, because they're just like the rest of us. Even Judge Joe Rutherford knew this when he built them a mansion to live in San Diego in the 1920s. Can you just imagine Judge Joe's excitement to show them real plumbing and running water? Look, you don't have to dig a hole outside. Take a dump right there now, guys. Welcome to 1925. Even Judge Joe knew they were regular people. Newsflash, Kenneth. Noah and Mrs. Noah put their pants on one leg at a time like the rest of us. And how kind of you now to let Mrs. Noah wear pants when she gets resurrected with the other sisters. This is where we are at inside Jehovah's Witnesses. These men are leading millions of people with this stuff. With life and death and all of mankind in the balance, this is what the governing body is concerned about? I grew up with Sister Jones, and she just played Mother Mary in your latest video. We made out once as teenagers. Wasn't too shabby. So now I'm running around telling everyone in the congregation I made out with Jesus' Mother Mary. What? Is that what you're talking about here? I recently worked the book cart with Brother Smith. He played Samson, so I asked him if I could feel his guns. What are you saying here, Kenneth Cook? Who greenlit this talk? Can you just stop this right here, right now, and please go help those people in prison in Eritrea? This talk is completely off the rails. Guess what? He doesn't stop. So please continue on with your counsel. We're all on the edge of our seat. Kenneth Cook continues along this theme, quote, "How could it affect a video participant if we gave him undue attention, treating him like a celebrity? He could feel embarrassed or self-conscious. This could happen if we asked these ones if we could take a photo with them. It would be even worse if we posted on social media, perhaps even adding comments." End quote. Not kidding. This is real. He's serious. This is the best spiritual food that the 11 future king priests can serve us. Their cringeworthy, embarrassing videos are turning regular publishers into targets for TMZ, at least in their minds. Jade and Nita have a baptized fan base chasing them around the assembly halls like paparazzi, snapping their pictures, asking them for a date. Remember the singing book cart? Well, it has its own Instagram page now. We're very concerned. Who can forget the video What is True Love, still on the website, featuring a sister named Liz, the pioneering barista who dodges a bullet by not dating an unbaptized guy, but gives up his soccer career, then gets involved in the family business, gets rich. He goes on to marry her best friend instead, who just doesn't have spiritual things in mind. She, of course, ends up miserable because this guy just won't commit to the organization. Stop me if you've seen this movie before, or heard this talk, or read this in the youth book. Never mind the horrible script and acting. It's atrocious. It is so fun to watch because you laugh the whole time. I'm sure the three main characters of that one are struggling to stand in front of their book carts now due to the throngs of Jehovah's Witnesses who want to take selfies with them. They were in a movie. Would you like a book? No, I want a selfie with you. My friend will never believe I met you. It's real. This is really happening. I wanted to scream. This is where the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses is in 2025, and it's right from the mouth of the governing body. A governing body update rife with lack of self-awareness, irony, and this. A worldwide update that spends half the video counseling the masses on turning other JW publishers into celebrities. I found myself wondering, what would befall the next sister who portrayed Jezebel? Or what about the harlot riding the beast? Would the brothers want to take selfies with her? Because, you know. Can you imagine the brothers fighting for the role of King David once they saw who gets to play Bathsheba? Wink, wink. This is what the governing body sits in a room and talks about during the last days. Aside from the absolute delusion of all of this, they created all of it. They're the ones making movies. Now, why would Jehovah's Witnesses be turning these people into JW celebrities? It surely couldn't be the insular, suffocating culture these guys have created, right? Where you're not allowed to associate or admire anyone outside of Jehovah's Witnesses. Couldn't be that. I'm sure it isn't that. Kenneth Cook, you just spent the beginning of this update telling us about the state-of-the-art movie studio that you and your 10 friends just greenlit in Ramapo. This is only about to get better. Are you 11 men so dense that you don't realize a Jehovah's Witness who currently spends their life standing in front of a book cart, or whose only privilege is cleaning the Kingdom Hall toilets, might just be interested in playing Samson in a full-scale movie instead? Are you so dense to not see that? And in all seriousness, what does he mean when he says, quote, it would be worse to add to social media, perhaps even adding comments, end quote. I have to confess, I did not take the time to go find examples of what he's saying, but I have to believe that someone posted a selfie with the sister who played Jade or Nita, and the comments went sideways. Can you imagine, quote, hey, Jade, are you single? Asking for a friend. He's baptized. Or how about, hey, Nita, I like my room super clean too. I like long walks on the beach. I've read the Bible several times, and my lifetime goals are to hand out strawberries on a paradise earth. Slide into my DMs, girl. Comments on social media? What is he talking about? Or how about my all-time favorite videos, the 2016 convention featuring a group of witnesses hiding in a bunker? And much like a Star Trek Trekkie convention, someone probably posted on social media, hey, brother so-and-so, can you tell me how you came up with the secret door knock? And will we be using the same door knock during the Great Tribulation? Should I build a bunker? I don't know. It's too mind-blowing to even conceive of how this made it to a video. But this is real. This is the state of Jehovah's Witnesses, folks. He continues. He says, quote, at Jude 16, the Bible condemns those flattering others for their own benefit. The footnote on that verse describes this as admiring personalities, end quote. I couldn't help at this point. So many thoughts. Because, Jehovah needs a footnote on the things he forgot to explain the first time around in his book. But Kenneth continues, quote, some of our video participants have become overwhelmed by the inordinate attention. Some no longer feel comfortable attending large gatherings of Jehovah's people. It's vital to have the right perspective of those that appear in our videos. End quote. Unbelievable. And Kenneth Cook just gets worse. He then says this, quote, can you think of a Bible example of someone that was given inappropriate attention as he carried out his assignment? There's this dramatic pause in the video. Perhaps you think of Paul and Barnabas. Acts chapter 14 reports that they became the center of attention after Paul had cured a man who had been lame from birth. This was a faith-strengthening miracle intended to glorify Jehovah and his Son. But onlookers missed the point. They became enthralled with Paul and Barnabas instead. End quote. Oh my God. You see, miraculously curing a handicapped person is a lot like being a bad actor reading a bad script in one of their videos. That's what Kenneth says. I can't believe this. Of course, he rambles on about how inappropriate it was. He leaves out the fact from the Acts 14 account that healing a handicapped person is a big deal, and that the mostly Greek crowd thought they might be Greek gods because people didn't walk around healing people. They do walk around posting videos. He forgets to include this. But he then says this happened to Jesus too, and Jesus too had to go into hiding to avoid taking selfies with people. And it's all just like being in one of their videos. Those poor Jehovah's Witnesses, they're getting famous. I'm going to repeat myself yet again. Not one of these guys, what are the chances? What is the ratio? 1 in 11? Not one of these guys has a shred of common sense when they're discussing this stuff. Dude, people wowed by someone's superhuman curing of diseases isn't quite on par with the kid who did the door knock in your bunker video. It's not quite the same thing. Not at all. I think you might be reaching here. But the governing body takes the Bible, shoehorns this into council on taking selfies with Sister Smith. She could get an Academy Award for playing Liz, the pioneering barista, in a video a few years ago. I can't believe these are grown men. Seriously, this is a mind blower. I couldn't be more happy to have landed on this to start the year. But what he says next might be my favorite part. He says, quote, of course, some brothers and sisters are assigned to portray servants of Jehovah, but others are assigned to portray enemies of Jehovah. Can you imagine how difficult it would be for a faithful brother or sister to portray an enemy of Jehovah? We would not want to make that assignment even more difficult by developing negative feelings to individuals who play such roles. Clearly, balance is needed on how we treat those who play roles in our videos. End quote. This is absolutely surreal. This entire update is so mind-blowingly comical, I am struggling to find the words. Did some little unbaptized publisher, otherwise known as a little enemy of God, remember that one, refuse to go to meeting because they were scared of Brother Jones ever since he played evil King Sennacherib? I can't be around him, Mom, he scares me. Did some brother walk up to the sister who played Rahab, the prostitute, and make inappropriate comments about, her lifestyle before she hid the two spies? Hey there. Are they trying to get out front of the fallout for the poor brother that has to play Judas in the new Jesus series? Will his life be ruined? Will he not be able to stand in front of a book cart after that? I tell you, I really want to see what brother lines up to play Lot after, he made some questionable decisions with his daughters. This is total insanity. This is insane. And this is the governing body. I sincerely doubt any of these actors in these videos are stressed out by all the undue attention they're getting. In my mind, when I was watching this, this is all about Kenneth and his 10 friends. It's all about the governing body. The same guys that have created the medium that puts common Jehovah's Witnesses out front of the organization. And this whole thing just screams insecurity. I'm surprised it took this long. Would you be surprised to learn that this isn't the first time the governing body has issued warnings about turning Jehovah's Witnesses into celebrities? Or is it? You see, in the past, they issued warnings about turning them into celebrities. Did you know? From the 2016 Watchtower, pages 26 and 27, the box, "Love Does Not Behave Indecently," this is the counsel they gave us. Quote, "At times, well-known representatives of the Christian congregation, perhaps circuit overseers, Bethelites, members of the branch committee, members of the governing body, as well as their helpers, may attend a convention or theocratic event that we also attend. While we appreciate having an opportunity to meet and talk with visiting brothers and their wives, we would show a lack of respect if we treated such ones as celebrities. For example, would it show good manners to take candid photos of such ones without permission while they are eating and engaging in other activities? Would we ask them to autograph our books and Bibles? Would we push in front of others and aggressively demand that our photo be taken with them? Surely none of these actions display true Christian love. Realize that there is a big difference between respect and adulation. These brothers and their dear wives want to be treated not as celebrities, but as our fellow brothers and sisters." End quote. That, again, is the January 2016 Watchtower, pages 26 and 27, the box, "Love Does Not Behave Indecently." And I have to tell you, everything described there in this warning about turning the governing body into celebrities and autographing Bibles, I'm going to get there, I've seen it all firsthand. I actually served with a fellow elder that came from Brooklyn, Bethel. And when we went to his house for a dinner, his refrigerator was covered in photos of him and his wife with, you guessed it, members of the governing body. I remember even as a dyed-in-the-wool elder in Jehovah's Witness in the moment thinking, that's weird. What was even more weird, when you're hearing this update and the counsel from the Watchtower I just read, the governing body didn't refuse to take the photo. They were smiling along. The picture was taken. And in what is my all-time favorite photo to ever go into print in their publications, a photo that was absolutely the doorstop as I walked out the door, that says it all if you're ever in doubt of the governing body. It's in the Watchtower of May 15th, 1999, page 8. And it features a photo of 3 governing body members autographing the Bible. They're autographing the Word of God. It's a photograph. The very thing Kenneth says we shouldn't be doing. Would you ask them to autograph your books and Bibles? Kenneth, page 8, May 15th, 1999, 3 members of the governing body, autographing the Bible. The very thing this video update and the 2016 Watchtower is telling us not to do. Who wants to tell Kenneth and the 10 guys that oversee the Watchtower library? You can go find this right now. This update is one of the most stunning things I've ever seen. And I probably overuse that. I know, guilty as charged. That's why I'm reading that great book. Guilty as charged. But I seriously can't believe this made it onto the website. And I already predict this will be deleted. Much like Toni Morris's videos, much like the college videos that they've taken down, this is going to get mothballed. Go watch it while you can. Here's a couple of random thoughts from this update. I'm bringing this little feature back to the show. He mentions admiration for Bible characters. Why is that okay? I'm going to emphasize this. I know I brought it up earlier. Aren't they just future paradise dwellers too? Aren't they just like you and me? Why do you constantly tell us to be like them? Write books about them. Spend tens of thousands and millions of dollars making video reenactments of them. Why? They're just people like us. And aren't you teaching us that we're going to study the Bible with them, a whole nother bizarre subject, in paradise when they're resurrected? They don't even know who Jesus is. But we're supposed to admire them, but don't admire them, even though we're putting them in video. It's like being on the teacups at Disneyland. How about this? Is it okay for the little people in Jehovah's Witnesses to admire Caleb and Sophia? Because I don't know if you realize this, Kenneth Cook. You can go to the website and download posters. Posters that the young enemies of God can hang on their bedroom walls. They can download posters that this organization has created to put on their walls. Admiring personalities? What? How about this? Have they considered why this may be a developing problem among Jehovah's Witnesses? Do they realize that for decades we had no clue who the governing body were? We now know all 11 of them by name and what they look like due to weekly videos that they produced. And finally, is it getting difficult for the Jehovah's Witnesses that show up every day and their job is to dress up in a costume of a first century Jew at the visitor center? Is it getting hard for them to be taken seriously when they give a talk in another congregation because they spend all day pretending to be a random Israelite making bread and scooping up donkey crap? Are we allowed, by the way, to take pictures and selfies with those people at the visitor center? I could keep going. I really hope any Jehovah's Witness listening put some thought to this. As we kick off 2025, this is the state of leadership among Jehovah's Witnesses. Spiritual food is made up of counsel aimed at protecting their celebrity. Gone is any semblance of scholarly teaching, examined prophecy, or just when these last days are actually going to end. In are people like us rotting in prison, building movie studios, and warnings about not taking selfies with the people that are then acting in the videos from their movie studios. Next up, my prediction, auditions for their video on Jacob, where the casting director gets to navigate casting a gorgeous sister as Rachel, who the Bible tells us, and I quote, had a great figure, while then trying to cast or find a sister to play Leah, who the Bible tells us had weak eyes and wasn't cute. Good times ahead for that casting director inside Jehovah's Witnesses. Enjoy. It's all surreal. In conclusion, can you imagine, please try to imagine being one of those precious people sitting in a prison cell in Eritrea for these men and watching this update? Can you imagine? The same men whose biggest concerns are building a movie studio, and that Jehovah's Witnesses are taking selfies with the bad actors. Shepherding at its finest. But more importantly, Jehovah. He really is an interesting God. It's great to be back. Thanks for joining me this week. Let's kick off this year and make it a great one. Wherever you may be, don't be well, be fantastic. And I'll see you soon.